The government increases the pressure on Feijóo and launches this threat to the minister Diana Morant, also leader of the Valencian PSOE. If Mr. Feijóo does not move a tab in the next few hours, the PSOE will move a tab. He does not rule out that this file is a motion of censure against Mazón. No, I'm not ruling it out. Compromise is clear. A motion of censure must be submitted now.
For dignity. For the dignity of all people who have lost a family member.
Mathematics demands the support of Vox, but the people of Abascal are not for the work.
That any political issue that could paralyze or slow down reconstruction is not now the time for more to occur.
In the Popular Party, there are voices that see Mazón amortized politically. Ayuso has avoided backing him up today. Well, there are no issues in Spain. If we were always having an opinion, and in Genoa, the tenuous answer, when they ask if he will continue in his position.
No one says that it will not be like that, so he is working on the reconstruction.
While Mazón deflects the focus.
I think the best news we should receive is that as soon as possible. The government says that it is going to do the works in the Barranco del Palo.
And avoid answering.
Backed by Feijóo. Let's get to work.
If you feel supported by Feijóo, José Angel Enes, head of climatology at AEMET, was narrating in real time to his colleagues what was happening at Chacopí. They had not been meeting for even half an hour and already warned that the situation was critical, that the Forata Dam was at capacity limit. More water was entering than could be relieved.
I do remember at some moments seeing technicians very overwhelmed by the situation, by the emergency situation, very overwhelmed, trying to explain to the politicians how the situation was.
An hour later, at 6:22, he sends them another WhatsApp with the news that came to him from Mol. There were people on the rooftops, but at that moment the telematic meeting had been suspended, a blackout that lasted an hour, and it was not until they reconnected, after 7 o'clock, when in the Chacopí, they talked about sending a massive message to the mobiles to the affected areas, a debate that lasted 3/4 of an hour. They could not agree on which areas to send the message, or with which recommendations.
And that there was a debate about the type of content, about people going to high areas.
And at 7:30, I was writing this to them. They really don't even know how the situation is. It was still 3/4 of an hour before the warning was released to the population. It was 11:08 when, according to the judge of Cataroca, the vast majority of victims had already drowned. The National High Court extends the investigation of the Coldo case by 6 months, in an order to which we have had access. Judge Ismael Moreno does not rule out new charges for the numerous material seized. The UCO continues to examine. It is 1 year since this case broke out that investigates, as you know, if a corrupt plot sold masks in exchange for commissions. The alleged ringleader, Víctor de Aldama, Ocoldo Garca, who was an advisor to former Minister Balos, has been charged, which has ended with his indictment in the Supreme.
Everything has accelerated with the return of Donald Trump to the White House, also in the cryptocurrency market. He promised to turn the United States into the global cryptocurrency capital of Bitcoin. But that euphoria is fading. Bitcoin soared after learning of his victory in November and set highs when he took possession in January. Then the falls began. Well, right now, we are starting to fall with a little speed, after having climbed a lot. Bitcoin fell by 26%, followed by Ethereum and Solana losing half of its value. Those of Trump and Melania, because the marriage has its own cryptos, have fallen by more than 85%. The market wants stability. There are people who are very worried because it seems that there is a new world order just around the corner. It seems, but maybe not. Then everything that is uncertainty to the market makes you nervous. Trump has so far failed to deliver on 2 of his campaign promises. Neither has a more favorable legislation been approved for cryptocurrencies, nor is the Federal Reserve going to buy them to create a strategic fund. And the experience 8 years ago already taught us, you have to take it with a grain of salt, listen to him, and then see what's really going on in the market. In a matter of a few weeks, the price will slow down, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 4, but in that order. Cryptocurrencies are subject to many ups and downs. That's why the European Central Bank keeps putting cryptocurrency on the bullseye and insists its fair value is 0. This is my day-to-day. This money is the result of the strategy that I share on my Telegram channel. The CNV tightens the fence on this type of influencers. This week, we have had an operation that has paid us neither more nor less than a 200% yield. Many of these offer services that are not authorized by the supervisor. But now the CNV takes another step in its surveillance and puts the focus on the investment recommendations they make to their clients and followers. What we are going to do during these next months: contact those influencers to whom we addressed recommendations in the past. See to what extent they are being fulfilled, and if they are not doing it, act accordingly. This can lead to penalties of up to €500,000 for market abuse, depending on whether the information given by the influencer is false and the objective. Sources and reasons for the investment recommendation. Every time you trade, I will be able to copy myself. Everything I do, all the operations I do, every day is going to be copied to you automatically. The regulation puts the focus on the fact that influencers have to disclose any possible conflict of interest, any possible sponsorship of their recommendation. Outside of this fence are cryptocurrencies due to lack of regulation, something that worries experts. There is a significant increase in problems of financial bars and scams. In any case, they insist. Behind the big returns, there is usually a huge risk. You can win a lot, you can lose a lot. That an Instagram reel or a Telegram group does not end up causing a break in your pocket.
If the Israeli army has recognized its total failure to prevent the attack of October 7, 2023, perpetrated by Hamas, and admits that for years they had underestimated the capabilities of the Islamist group, this is according to an internal investigation that concludes that the Israeli army failed in its mission to protect Israeli civilians. The investigation denounces the lack of preparedness and capacity demonstrated by the Israeli army to respond to an attack, and the Israeli defense minister has spoken about the future of Gaza, who has acknowledged that he has plans to implement Trump's plan and achieve the exit of the Gazans. They say they will set up a migration office. Tomorrow, by the way, the first phase of the ceasefire agreement expires, and there are still no advances that guarantee the continuity of the truce. Israel has no intention of leaving Gaza and assures that Trump will allow them to stay in the area indefinitely. Yes, after very tense days in which Trump went so far as to call Zelensky a dictator, to blame Ukraine for the war. The two are going to see each other face to face here. And what they want to sign are the general lines of the agreement. Trump sees an economic opportunity in the reconstruction of Ukraine and its minerals, and this deal will allow him access to half of the country's natural resources, also its natural gas and oil. What remains to be decided are the details. On the other hand, Trump is negotiating peace with Russia, and Zelensky is asking for security guarantees so that that country does not attack them again in the future. But Trump is resistant to any long-term military commitment and implies that his endorsement is this deal. The fact that he is doing business there, his idea is that when the United States has economic interests in Ukraine, no one is going to dare to attack it.
The president of Ukraine is already in the White House. Zelensky meets with Trump with the aim that both presidents sign an agreement where Washington can exploit 50% of Ukrainian rare earths. Kiev asks for security guarantees in return. The details of the agreement are unknown at the moment.
The protesters complain that the security deficiencies that caused that disaster have not been corrected. The investigations, moreover, have not clarified what happened, and no one responsible has been convicted. Air traffic controllers, sailors, doctors, and teachers have joined this general strike and have managed to block flights and means of transport throughout the country. In New Mexico, in the United States, the investigation into the death of Jim Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa is still open. Police say it's a suspicious death, but see no indication of a crime. The bodies were found in separate rooms. Next to the woman was a bottle of pills, and some were scattered on the floor, also a heater. The door of the house was open, and no evidence of a gas leak has been detected. And Pope Francis has spent the night in that quiet Gemelli hospital and continues to work and make arrangements from the hospital. That's what the Vatican said this morning. Today is the 15th anniversary of his admission to treat his bilateral pneumonia. Vatican sources assure that he has already passed the critical phase, Although he will remain hospitalized, Francis will be replaced by a cardinal at next Wednesday's Mass in Feliz. This is the fire that started in the early hours of this morning in an industrial estate in the south of Madrid. The flames are already seeing it out of control. They've razed this 8,000-strong ship to the ground, square meters of clothing sales. There are no injuries. 60 firefighters are still working on the extinction, and at the moment, it is unknown what has caused that fire.